right.
When you hear that voice, you know.
I know. That's like, it's like the school bell, like get in class.
Quickly, you only got 30 seconds.
Okay. Here we are, another week, but we're actually talking about a different show. All right.
Ooh.
Crazy.
At long last, Real Housewives of Dubai has finally returned to Bravo. So, cheers to that.
Cheers to what?
To the return of Dubai.
The return of Dubai.
Okay. You are now watching Mind You Media.
Mind you.
We can't use that. We don't have the rights. You are now streaming Mind You Media.
That lemon seed in there.
I was going to say
Yes.
something about the return of Jafar because it's the desert.
Is that the sequel to Aladdin?
That is a sequel.
Oh, that's what it's called. I thought you just made
No.
that up.
Not to go
No,
too far down memory lane, but Aladdin was the finest of the Disney stars, I have to say. The animated Disney stars, I should say.
The ones that were your age bracket, right?
Yes.
Because some more come along.
Yeah, but
who else they got? That's
Well,
smarter than Aladdin. I defy you to tell
They
me.
never have a black one. That's for freaking
true.
sure.
That's
But
true.
the other, off
is
brown
John
one they
Smith.
have,
Oh, who's the No, I was saying who are the other ones?
the one for Tiana, Princess Tiana.
But that I feel like that counts as after our time.
He's supposed to be like
okay.
Creole. Is he supposed to be like a Creole type?
I don't think he's Creole. Is he Creole?
Or what do you call Cajun? What are the whites of that land called?
I actually most recently thought he was Indian, but they probably wouldn't do that, right? They'd be like, "We already had Aladdin. That's close enough."
Right.
You're looking for your relationship in the Disney.
I was about to say.
It was modeled after Mississippi Masala, in fact.
Wait, but no, the reason I brought we don't have time to do this.
No,
okay?
we don't.
We're the most short on time we've been.
How easily we get distracted.
I know. I literally was about to recap.
Turn the charisma off, ladies. Turn it off. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually quiet time.
It has nothing to do with charisma, but never mind.
All right, enough. Now it is time for the 1 minute recap of season 2, episode 1 of Dubai. All right,
VIP it is called.
VIP. VIP. Okay, so perfect. It will be recapped by our resident expert recapper. That's a young, but slightly older tomorrow, Kristen May.
All right. Toasted to Kristen's birthday. Cheers.
Yes.
Coming up after these messages.
All right. I will tell you when I'm starting. She has 60 seconds to do the whole thing. Starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We're back in Dubai with all but one cast member. We have a new woman in town. Her name is Taleen. We'll get to her later. The show opens. Sara is climbing with her son, who calls her thick. That's weird. We see Stanberry and Sergio working on their house. Chanel, Ayan, and Lisa meet up to do paddle, which is all the rage in Dubai. It's sort of like tennis, sort of like pickleball. They discuss Beyonce and their access to the VVIP during her visit to Dubai. We then go see that Stanberry and Sergio are plotting on another child, which they have no business to having. Caroline Brooks' new spa is open, the Glass House, and we see her soliciting the construction or contractor services of her ex-husband. We see Sara undergo her spiritual healing and excise her traumas around. Wow! Wow! I thought I was
with no regard for time. I was getting ready for something.
Well, even when I was getting you started, I felt like the energy was here, and then you go, and here we are.
It feels like important to reacquaint everybody with these new figures. Okay,
well, what you're saying is you refused the assignment.
Beautiful. Well, keep on.
I tried. I regret nothing.
No.
Yes, please keep going.
Okay, well, since I was rudely interrupted, Sara was excising the trauma of her previous lovers so that she could make space in her heart for the man that her son says he so desperately needs in his life.
And doesn't that practice though with the music playing while she screams into the pillow, doesn't that seem very effective?
I think certainly the scream, like the screaming
with music, because then it's like vibrations, it's helping you, and it's like collective, and it's like and then at the end when they rung the bell over her head, I said, I literally feel something lifting from her.
It definitely felt like she was like putting all of herself out of herself into that pillow. Like I believe
if it were somebody less evil, I can imagine something would have healed right in that moment. Like something was excised. I don't know if it healed, but yeah, I saw it.
Not for Sara Al-Madani. She's a nasty one. A real nasty one. Okay, then we see Lisa and her boys at soccer training. They're very cute. They are very cute boys, but I don't like how Lisa was telling us that the soccer is being pushed down their throat. Like, is that what they all want to do? That Rich, the dad, is like a stage dad? It's like, why is he not at soccer camp then?
Why is he a stage dad now? And why is the kid like 3? Can he really speak for what he wants to do at 3 years old? It's like, because they got admitted into an exclusive soccer thing, and then the dad is like, and let's also give them additional training on the side. They're way to narrow their horizons. Like, can they not take art class also?
Then we see a lunch between Caroline Stanberry and Chanel Ayan, where, frankly, if you ask me, Stanberry looks as joyless as ever, and Ayan is always bringing vitality and energy to interaction. So I'm just like, what is the draw between these two? But they talk about Beyonce. They talk about, this new woman, Taleen. They talk about Chanel Ayan's issues with Sara Al-Madani.
We talk about the possibility that Ayan is older than.
That's right. That was a nasty one. And Stanberry was lit to pull a tooth right now if I could. Her. Just in this moment, I would pull a tooth right now to figure out.
They do that for dogs. Maybe we could do it to your mother or you.
She's so joyous. It's like Chanel is like, I'm having fun at the end, and homegirl is just like, yeah, this is how I'm having fun. This is how you know I'm having fun. It's like, did you crack a smile once?
And why do you want it to be revealed that someone's older than you when they look 20 years younger than you?
Still a credit to them. Delusion. It would still be a credit to them.
Oh I mean, she's shown up with a new phase. So anyway, she may be aiming for, we'll see.
Well, it's an Ozempic phase, but continue.
Oh, we got to come back to that. We must come back to that.
Ozempic, you didn't do it on your own. You heard it. So you learned the song.
I love it.
It's such a good song. You have to say it at the end.
Oh, man. So then we go to Brooks, who introduces us to her longtime friend, Taleen, who is expat from the U.S., from Virginia, by way of Los Angeles. I don't know if I said that right, because I never know what by way means and how to use it. But Taleen seems fun-loving. They discuss Beyonce and going to the concert and how Taleen turned up so hard she might have fallen over and exposed herself. And Brooks was very lit to tell Taleen that Caroline Stanberry was very invested in that fact of her falling. Taleen didn't like it, and seems like Caroline was lit to say it, though. Then the episode ends very cutely with Lisa Milan hosting a good weather girls brunch because winter in Dubai is 94 degrees, apparently.
And that's the only time you can actually go outside.
Very nuts. And Lisa's looking cute as ever, like so cute, or her little matching coordinated headband, crop top, pant, and platform. Her and Chanel get there. Stanberry comes shortly thereafter. They got off on the wrong foot, but they're making a cautious effort to maybe try to hear each other out. Then we see Sara Al-Madani, Caroline Brooks, and Taleen all arrive together. And, Taleen is introduced to the group. And Sara and Chanel Ayan try to air their differences and hear one another out. Doesn't go well. Does not lead to resolution. And we see Brooks become embroiled in a little beef that she instigated, it seemed, between Taleen and Stanberry. Taleen asked Stanberry if they're good because she heard that Stanberry was talking about her from Brooks. Brooks was surprised to hear that, Stanberry was surprised to hear that Brooks had run and told Taleen that there was an issue, because she was like, I talk to you every day. If there's an issue, you might have told me that. But she didn't. So that's how the episode ends,
Okay.
To be continued.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, so as Kristen mentioned, we have a new housewife, Taleen. Just throw out some first impressions before we get to maybe some changing impressions of the other women.
Okay. Well, it's worth noting that Taleen replaces Nina. Who knows what Nina's last name is? And it's a welcome change for me. I did not like Nina. I really didn't. She's not my type, as we might say, for reasons that I could elaborate on in the future. It's related to the enneagram, or this is my diagnosis about why she's not my type. But she did a lot of like, oh honey, should we buy the 12 door or the 6 door? And it was like, you're trying too hard. It's too heavy handed and too performative. And then she just felt like she was up under Stanberry's ass also. It's like, I'm clocking the racial divides. And it's like, if I peep you, Arab girl, going for the white girl, then it's already, it's not a good look. I mean, of course she claimed a friendship with the others, but when it came down to it and the lines were being drawn, she either played both sides or she conducted herself, as if she had no integrity. I'm not interested in her, and I'm glad she's gone.
Yeah, she was unmemorable, to me at least. I got her name wrong earlier.
She called her Nancy.
I was really racking my brain, and I was like, "Oh yes, Nancy." But she, even fellow cast members, Ayan and Stanberry. Stanberry to her face was like, "Yeah, I really thought you were boring.
Yeah, she did say that. She did. And did Nina even stand up for herself? No.
She was like,
boring. I truly don't remember her, so that might tell you something. I don't remember much of her. She had some kids. They went to the Burj Khalifa, and that's all I remember.
Her plot line was much more family centric. And then when she would get around the women, it would just be like,
ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
Okay, and another relevant thing to know, it's like, her dad was sick from COVID, and she was just like, should I go, hemming and hawing? And I was like, you don't want to go. You don't want to go, and now you're making it seem like there's some conflict over like, should I? It's like, she probably didn't want to go because she didn't want to miss. Okay, this reminds me of Wendy from this previous season. Remember when Wendy's mom ends up in the hospital? It's just like, my mom, I think you could leave the trip, baby. You could leave the trip to go.
So true.
I gotta shoot.
And it's not to say like, oh, they don't care about their parent, but it's like literally a conflict, right? Like my priorities, like, should I be on TV? Should I go visit my ailing parent?
Yep. Yeah, the dad was in the ICU at one point.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, and for me, it's like, that's okay. Like, okay, if you have a conflict about it, just be open. Like, I don't want to miss out. It's like, name the reasons why you're afraid to go visit your dad, at least, because otherwise, like, creating this like, and will I be able to? Because I have to. You could go. You could go in the snap of a finger if you wanted, because you're buying 12 new cars. Like,
right. Okay, so bye Nina, last that we're ever talking about her. How about the ladies who stayed? Or no, let's talk about Taleen. We said first impressions were good on her. We liked that she owned up. Yeah, I fell. What's it to you? I really appreciated that. I identified with that.
I thought her background story was interesting. We hear about it later in the episode. She's like, adjacent to the music industry. Like, she's a singer. And then the little clip they showed of her singing, it's like, she can sing.
That's not bad at all.
This is no Ashley Darby.
I was just about to say.
This feeling is brand new. The other thing I liked about her is the clip was good, the background was interesting, and I liked during the brunch when she was telling the group about it, she was like, I toured with, I worked with Jamie Foxx, I toured with this person, that person, you know what, I'm name dropping, let me stop. Like, there's a level of just social awareness that doesn't feel performed, but feels like, I know what it sounds like, so let me just kind of, that's a nice thing to see from somebody.
Glad you brought that up. And while she was naming these people, I didn't even feel like she was name dropping. I felt like she was giving context for her career. And I'm think I'm sensitive to someone doing that. And then she's even more conscious of it, right? And just like, let me not. That's lovely. I love that.
I'll take it. And if anything, it's a surprise that she's been BFFs with Brooks this long, because that woman I don't love.
Status chaser, big time. And what we also hear from Taleen is that, she's sitting down with her presumably longtime friend Brooks. At least for the past 7 years, they've been friends, which coincides with their
relocation
9 to Dubai. Okay, 9 years. And Brooks is telling her, yes, Stanberry was judging you for being very drunk at that Beyonce concert. And Brooks is relaying it like, can you believe, like she's trying to be messy, and Taleen is like, I don't like that. And maybe this feels unremarkable, but other housewives would not be quick to catch the shade, as it were, right? Like, they would recognize Stanberry has some status in the sense that she has seniority, and they would like maybe think it but not say much. And she's like, I don't like that. I don't like that. And it will be addressed. Like, why is she negatively judging me for having a good ass time? Like, maybe my vajayjay was out. So what? And it's a promising sign, at least, that she instantly, even in the face of her friend not jumping to her defense, was like, wait, why'd you say that?
Can we note that she, at the final brunch, she raises the question to Stanberry, like, are we good? Not in a way that felt like she was like inventing some drama for TV, but just being like, I'm checking in, like, is everything good with us? Because I heard that Brooks told me that you said this, and if it's joking, cool, but like, are we good? Like, I'm asking. It felt like a sincere question and not like a false occasion to just start like some fake.
Have a moment, right?
All right, so we'll keep our eyes out, but so far,
we like what we see so far.
Keep it up. Don't disappoint us, please.
The only strike against her is her friendship with Brooks.
And maybe the face. I
knew because we were talking about we like what we see, and
I don't mean to be like appearance oriented.
No.
I'm glad that
it's about surgeries too. It's about surgeries. So it's like her natural face would not strike you like that. It's like
the flashback of her singing wasn't as bad as what we see. It's been overdone, and it's like distracting. She looks a little like a Muppet, and I wish she did.
Yep. All right. Well,
can I just note another scary new face is Stanberry's.
Oh.
It's new. It's newer than last season. And while some commentators of the show are like, yes, Stanberry's looking good, it's like, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's always going to look like she's forcing work on herself to look younger. It's like, some people are doing that, Karen, and they're doing it beautifully.
Yep. And Stanberry's like lip is like,
I know. It's that
something
whole
about
area.
it.
Something is wrong.
It's like sutured to her wrinkle in a kind of way, and it doesn't sit there. And it doesn't, like, she can't control it well. Like,
yes, that's
probably had a bad surgery. She probably had a bad surgery.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. All right. How about the other ladies? What do we think, Ayan? Impressions? Have they changed?
One of the things I love most about Chanel Ayan is her coming to meetups with gifts, and it just like it's so deeply like it's like such a signature like of who she is and how she interacts, and it's like I like it because the gift is always a symbol, so she always reads it as she gives it to the person. Like, I brought you a pineapple because I was reflecting on my thoughts about you. And like, love this.
I agree. I also love that. And it's like, whereas the person is just like, oh my God, like graciousness and hospitality. She's like, well, there's maybe something more to it. Don't just take it as a generous. It's going to be a harbinger of the,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like one way or another. And the pineapple she brought to Stanbury this episode was interesting because she said, much like me and like you. And then at some point, Lisa goes, well, you know, sometimes she says in her Jamaican accent, it can be sour. And then I believe Ayan actually knew that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I believe because she like the thought she puts into the gifts always seems to capture this, like, there's a duality here. We don't know.
brought
We don't know
Sara
where
onions.
Yes.
You're very layered.
Oh,
that was a double edge. Yes.
Yes. But I will say, one thing that worried me about the gift of the pineapple is that last season, she brought everyone gifts except when she met up with Stanbury. She brought nothing. So it worries me. And they even had a convo about it, or like Stanbury brought it up, like, does this mean something? And in the confessional, Ayan said, yeah. So now I'm worried she came with a gift. Like, where's this relationship gonna go?
Well, some other commentators of Dubai are like, yes, I'm so glad to see them, you know, coming together, being not me. And it's just, you know, one day we should talk about the way the commentators, you know, like, because one thing to know is where the commentators start on a given season when the discourse is not yet taken off, and then where they pivot when a trend goes in a certain direction. But I'm also noticing among the commentators who are mostly white, they love a Stanbury, right? Like they keep trying to redeem Stanbury. The project is to redeem her. And so that's why they're like, yes, Ayan and Stanbury, they make such a good, they don't make no good nothing. Stanbury is lifeless.
Stanbury is not good TV. She's not energetic. She's not quick. She's not smart. You know, as Candace said about, you know, she doesn't give, she's not particularly cute at all. Like she's not stylish. Like why is she being positioned as one of the like figures of significance? I don't understand.
It's giving Kim Solsiak. It's giving Andy
just about to
Cohen
say.
forcing a white woman on a black cast because it's like, you need this influence for what?
Yes.
We need the racist influence. And it's always a like glaringly racist white woman, right? Who's like most of the time like, yeah, I like to roll with blacks, but catch me and I'll say some very nasty things about them. And my intentions are, you know, to embarrass them generally.
Yeah. Like Kim did that one reunion. Remember that
when she was like, can you imagine what it's like to be around all these blacks? Remember that?
Was that the one where she was like, you can't say, like, I can't remember now. I can't remember what she said. But she like
she had returned after some hiatus, and I think it was shortly after their South Africa trip. Either that reunion or a reunion beyond that.
And she was like castigating Andy for not protecting her from the blacks. And she was like, you let me hang out to dry. Like, I can't say shit to Isn't that right, Sheree? And Sheree was like,
oh.
That's when I decided I was done with Sheree permanently.
Okay. Anyway. Apologies.
Yeah. Thank you for keeping track of time, Kristen.
So do we have... So we did Ayan, we did Stanbury. The only other thing I want to note is production forcing her on us as an anchor, despite her not having the popularity to back that up.
Stanbury or
Stanbury and Ayan are being positioned as the anchors, I've noticed.
Yeah. All right. Thoughts on Lisa Brooks?
As beautiful as ever. I really hate to reduce her to her appearance, but
Lisa, she's saying
more than that. She's more than that, but she's very beautiful, and she is. I don't know. I liked her. I mean, if we're tracking our impressions from the first season vis-a-vis now, like I was distracted by how beautiful she is, but also like there is beauty that like expresses itself and that like me as a viewer I can stay with, which is Lisa to me. And then there's like I think Caroline Brooks is beautiful, but I can't like stay with honoring her as a beautiful person because of how she moves, her like lack of integrity, her nasty anti-Black investments. And so I think like seeing Lisa as this like shining beacon of beauty is a testament to also like her good sense and like her capacities and her like, commitments to Blackness and Black friendship. And I'm here for her.
And I think her like integrity is reflected, or her integrity, or generally just like what we tend to like in a person is reflected in her taglines each season. Preceding season, she said, "The only thing you can take from me is notes."
Okay, I thought that was great. Kristen's laughing now.
I had trouble. I was like, "Is there festive?"
If I'm recalling correctly, I don't think I got it the first time I heard it either. But that's a nice feature of a tagline, right? It's like if you sit with it, you go, nobody can take nothing from me. Oh, but they can take notes.
Oh, they can take yeah. And it's like sometimes it's a problem of like delivery. So I'm just like somebody threatening to take something from you. Oh okay. The season will have to unfold for me to understand that they're trying to take credibility.
And they make those taglines generally at some point in the season. So it seems to me that one for Lisa was directed at Stanberry trying to diminish her accomplishments. Like, you will not take my accomplishments from me, actually.
Yes.
And
like
then
that formulation, that witty formulation, because she was like, we see in the preview for this season, like, it looks like she's hopping on the Stan wagon. Only wagons I hop in are G.
RG, yeah, RG.
Okay. And again, I had to go back.
That made me,
That one I didn't love. That little I didn't love.
Okay.
But it's building up a sense of her character. She says, "I'm not a follower. I'm not a groupie. I don't beg to belong or be accepted." And so this tagline is, it's very hot in the desert, so I'm really good at finding the shade or something like that. And it's a way of saying I have the powers of discernment. I know when someone is coming for me.
Okay. And that really speaks what I liked about her the best in the first season. There would be these moments where Ayan would come to her and be like, "This was my interaction with Sara. This was my interaction with Stanberry." And not only was Lisa listening, but her reaction was like, "Oh, so what she really said is," like really cutting to the core of the insult, or like, what was supporting this, whatever, happened.
Yeah. Okay, one other thing I want to note about Lisa is like, I don't like the husband though, if I'm gonna be honest. Like,
not at all.
Him, I don't like his energy. He's an Aussie. Like, it's gonna risk some Michael Darby vibes. Like,
he just gives slime. He gives like a kind of pursuit of like perfectedness. He's so like coiffed in a kind of way. I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Rick, that's his name. Yeah.
I didn't like him at all. I even liked, and this is gonna be crazy to say, but even Brooks's husband fixing the toilet, I felt like he was more endearing than.
Oh, Brooks's husband is like a very familiar crotchety figure. Yeah. I agree.
So, where's Caroline?
You might even have rage issues, but I'll take it.
Well, she said as much, in the flashback. She was like, "You took everything out on." He was like, "You know what? I guess I'm sorry. It's not gonna be happy. It's gonna make you happy. Cool."
It's an 8-man. That's basically what we're noting. He may be angry, but he's also gonna be witty.
Okay. Other thoughts on Brooks, or are we gonna move on? We didn't really get into her other than
we did kind of suggest that, she's demonstrated herself, shown herself to be anti-Black in the past. Like, I would not. And then it looks to me like she wants to use Taleen. Taleen is her friend, presumably she's bringing on. It looks to me like she wants to use Taleen to do a certain kind of work. And actually their taglines, I think, were making related points. Like, Taleen's is, "I stay chill to avoid overheating," or something like that. Like, which is, it sounds like her way of saying, like, you're not gonna catch me getting worked up over people trying to come for me. I'm gonna always look unbothered, which, in its ugliest face, that's Giselle, but like in its best face, that's Karen, right? Most of the time, Karen Huger.
Yeah.
I think it's a promising quality about Taleen, but then Brooks is like, "I may be building glass houses, but you'll never see me crack." It's like,
I think you're cracking. Yeah, I think you're cracking already, girl. I think you're.
That was just, what do they call it? Like a self-own, like just.
And then to show up and get wasted, at the group outing of the season, the first one is like.
She's the kind of like, I don't believe you're convinced by your own narrative. Like, you tell the camera, like, the woman's like, "Oh, how did you get your glass house salon built so fast?" "Money." It's a little like, money. "Did it land?" "Money." Like, okay, girl.
Then you see the X in the back, and it's like,
I mean, and also my contractor was my husband's.
And as someone said, like they're looking for the receipts because her narratives about her financing don't really add up. Yeah, it's like she's leaning on her affiliations, her romantic affiliations from the past, but she's not making clear to us what those actually are. Like,
yep.
Maybe she has a large alimony check. Who knows?
We'll see.
No, she made a point last season of saying she doesn't. But anyways, she was like, I left with nothing. I left with my child and nothing.
That's true. She could have gone back to court to pursue, and if that husband is successful, the one who's the father of her child, or he could have done the work for free as an attempt to make amends.
It was, I feel like, an amends situation.
I thought it was funny how like she was characterizing their relationship as so improved and the family is turning when on the basis of him just being like, yeah, I'm sorry or whatever, I guess, fine. She was like, and so it's like we're really becoming a family unit again. It's like, girl, he wasn't even sorry. He just
I asked him to build this spa and now we're reunited. It's like,
oh, okay.
Are you going to resolve like
that's someone who doesn't have the powers of discernment.
And that's her major problem. That's why I don't like her.
All right, next, let's talk about Stanberry. Let me say, I obviously didn't like her last season, but I am really concerned about, like, I am not going to like her more. The whole baby narrative getting louder. I really don't like that. I
mean, we already talked about Stanberry, but we did miss that key point, which is like, she does not want that child. The children she has are currently like, we raised ourselves.
Yes. And they're begging her not to have another. So I really
is like, what's going on with this?
What is going on with that? Can we get some answers? Like, what is this? It's a beard situation. Is it like
you said it? You said it.
That was my first thought.
It's a question. I like. Does she? She said how she was excited that 1 year in they're not having sex. So is it like an accommodation? Like
it's right. Their interests are compatible, and that's fine. I actually don't like. I kind of love a relationship like that, right? Because what it just goes to show is like, sexuality is not this like fixed thing per se, right? It's like an accumulation of signifiers. I won't make that point now, but it's like, nobody is just one thing, right? So let's just say Sergio mostly likes men, but he happens to have very compatible interests with Stanberry, and Stanberry is giving very much the affects of a man, right?
I was just about to say. Yeah.
What did Sergio say? You give me presence, but not energy. Like, it's like she's showing up to perform the relationship or to like, inhabit the behaviors of the relationship. But is she like passionate about it? No, maybe not.
Yep. And it seems what she's getting out of it is his vitality. It's like that little clip of them doing the TikTok challenge. I said, this is such the perfect allegory for their relationship. Like, she's giving him credit for all of these like qualities of vitality, better dancer, like more fun, more likely to be arrested, whatever. And she must enact violence against him as the acknowledgement. So look at that. Like,
that's why she was willing to do it, I'm sure. There's something true about what you're asking me to do here.
And he endures a few hits and then he's like, too much, please.
Yeah, I think it's definitely part of the whole agreement, and why I believe it is one, is also that Lisa in season 1, she has alluded to that, and like I said, I believe Lisa.
What did she say exactly?
They had Chanel Ayan in the confessional at the beginning saying it was a fake relationship, and Lisa was like, no comment.
Okay.
So that's all I needed to know.
And the matter was settled.
Later, he was crying I was still confused, honestly, to be honest, because like at first I thought it was an agreement, but then he keeps talking about, I can't wait till you get old. I can't wait to push you in a wheelchair. And then I was like, oh, does he want to kill her? Like I started feeling that strongly, but then he was you know, crying at the wedding, and then it goes back to Chanel Ayan's confessional saying
maybe
people cry for a lot of things.
Maybe he has a care kink, like he wants to be the parent, you know, he's like, maybe he like wants to be a caregiver in a kind of way that's not like authorized.
He wants to be the child made prematurely the parent. I mean,
yes.
Right? Because he's much younger than her, right? Like, so for that dynamic, you should get someone much younger than you if you want to be the parent, but it's like you want to be the child raising the parent, the child who's more paternalistic or maternal than the parent.
He wants to be the head child.
The head child, okay, that
like
one too.
Like the other one is just, I think, closer in age to him than to
Oh yes, the head child who, and you know what? I just want to say I like Sergio, and I think Sergio should be a housewife of Dubai, and I think he should kick Caroline to the curb because she's bringing him down.
I liked him first season, but as the baby stuff goes on, I'm becoming more and more like, no, you're not right for that. Because no.
The baby might not survive, y'all. If it's
that's the thing, right? He's being fairly insensitive to the fact that it's a huge risk to her body to bear the child. But it seems to me like they're both I would hold them both equally accountable because it's like, then you shouldn't have been together. If this is a deal breaker, which she knew it was a deal breaker, and he knows it's a deal breaker, but they keep being like, are you, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a deal breaker. Then don't be with each other because that thing won't work, or have a non-traditional relationship and let him have a child with someone else. And because she would prefer that anyway.
And that's what her daughter suggested that in season 1.
Oh, she did.
Yes.
Okay. I don't remember that. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So last but not least,
not at all.
Sara, impressions, changing thoughts.
In a land of excess, I find the riches from within. It's not that that's a problem. That's something we would actually like in a person, but it's just like, as a bunch of people have already noted, you're a fraud. Like,
fraud. The riches are not within. That is why she's saying it.
And every time we see her in a scene, she's trying to be like, look at how much access and resources, and you know what I mean? So it's just like, oh, really? You don't seem like the one who's kind of
you didn't even seek your spiritual riches from a local, Emirati. You went and found your spiritual advisor from the huckster transplant from the United States.
A white man from Ohio. Ohio man.
Literally. Yes.
It's not even from within the country that you're in, man. What are you talking about? What?
Local white man from Ohio who grew a man bun is now.
He's from Dayton. Okay. But speaking.
One thing we need to note about Sara, though, is that, when her son is a real cutie. Her son is a real precocious little cutie, and God bless that child, because I would like for something good to happen to him. She's
not happening.
She's talking about priming herself for the dating world again. And she goes, my son really craves having a father figure around. And I'm like, is your son saying that? Because that means you're setting him up to feel as if there's a void he must constantly come on, your son has a grandfather. We met her with her, hang out with her father. Like, if you feel like there are like men who might teach him how to comport himself as a man, which I'm not endorsing that, but I recognize the normative appeal of it, then that's good enough. You can teach your son to be a good person, especially since you have this investment in spirituality, without teaching him, because a child doesn't make that up on their own. They learn that without teaching him to want a parental figure he doesn't have.
And if we go off of what he said in the clip, he said, I've seen people treat you mean. Like, he was like, people treated you mean. Like, so I don't know, that there's the same kid who says that say, I really crave a father figure.
I don't believe it. I don't believe
it. The lesson might be, men ain't shit because they be beating you. They be, you know what I mean? Cheating on you. Like, why, if that's the example of men that does he even want a father figure?
Yeah.
What I imagine.
Yeah, you're ventriloquizing him, and in fact, like, I don't actually think he would have said that, because she said he was present for those abuses of the physical variety and the cheating. So it's like, I don't know that I think
he might say it because a child will, if we want to call that a contradiction, a child has no problem with contradictions, right? He might say it, but he's saying it because she's like, I need a man. I'm lonely.
Well, that's the thing. I imagine that Well, we know from last season, he and the grandfather have a very close relationship. They like each other a lot. They talk about cake recipes, etc. And Sara is like, oh, well, I wish he had this with a father. Like, so nice that he has his grandfather because he doesn't have someone else,
Exactly. She's the one who's underscoring the absence of and it's like, you're setting your kid up for failure. Like, how many men do we know in the world who are adults just like lamenting perpetually the absence of a father? And it's like, you could have had the perspective as a child that like, oh, actually, I'm getting everything I need from the community of elders who raised me. There is no absence of lessons I might acquire from, the social world around me. And if the men who have been in his past have been beating, cheating on, disrespecting, otherwise harming his mom, it seems to me like the essential ingredient that's missing is not a father.
Right. All right. Speaking of riches, I forgot one last thing about Stanberry. What is her what do they call that tagline?
Oh.
What is it? Oh yeah.
Oh my God. The only thing old about me is my money. How do we pass this up? Hey everyone. Guess where her money's from? For a British white woman to say that like it's a flex on a cast of Black and brown women, right? She's like, y'all are new money, y'all be old money. Your money was begot on the backs of slaves and otherwise colonized people. Like,
1000%.
Empire facilitated whatever money you have, ma'am. You should not be fucking flaunting and like what? You came to Dubai. What was her tagline last year?
She said, in America, I don't know why America, because you're not from America. In America, I would be one in a million. Here, I'm 1 in 1.
Oh, you know why? Because America was the colonial holding of the UK. So it's like, maybe it's like it's a way of saying like the appeal of America is like everyone can make themselves, but like here people are gonna respect that I come from the imperial origins of the place or something.
Yeah, or she was making a choice, right? Like, should I go live in America or should I live in Dubai? Which they represent similar things. For instance, if you're at a crossroads in your life, like where am I going next? But like, also just for the record, people, if you think I'm embellishing when I say money from slavery, all of the major financiers, all of the major banks in our contemporary capitalist world were more or less begot ensuring slave ships. Okay, financing slavery. We can link an article. So to brag about old money when you're from the most forceful colonial power of the modern world, that's Britain. Tacky.
Quite
nasty, ugly.
Yep. But that's precisely why they're positioning her as the anchor. It's like, what does it symbolize? The savages. come.
Yep. We see how you roll, Andy. We peep.
And put on that colonial like explorer uniform in the form of like Rudyard Kipling or whatever,
Yeah. Oh my God, she wore several outfits like that last season where I was just like, where are you going on safari?
That's what her life. Yeah.
All right. In the last, let's just say 4 minutes, let's get into the Enneagram. Do we want to go Enneagram? Is that where we're going with this?
Let's go.
Well, okay. There's a theory that what's her name? Caroline Stanberry is a 7. Is that right? Oh no.
Yes.
There's a theory that, and there's a theory also that Sara Al-Madani is also a 7.
And I feel that much more strongly. That actually is the truth. Okay.
Well, I just wanted to note that we will have said a bunch of things that corroborate that account, but maybe we should wait until we get a little more content and then keep testing that theory. But I would also like to talk about that clash between Sara and Ayan in the final scene of the episode.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Let us, set it up for us. What was
the
context?
So we learned from Chanel Ayan that following the preceding season, which was like 10 years ago, she got a lot of flack. She says, I got a lot of flack from my community about, discussing my FGM story, right? Like, we know what FGM is, right? Female genital mutilation. Or female circumcision is another way it gets called. She talked about that in the preceding season. And she's saying that in the wake of that season airing, people from let's just say East African, to cast a broad net, because Chanel Ayan, as we know, is a Kenyan national, but of Somali origin. So, we can talk about the whole horn or whatever as a thing. So she's, and she speaks multiple languages reflected in the populations of the horn. So it seems like the community is broadly defined, but she was getting backlash. She didn't say too much about that, which I appreciate, because I also can very well understand why her community, capaciously defined, would respond angrily, frustratedly at her talking about that story on a white-dominated Western media outlet without any context. And it's not to take away from the experience of trauma she had, not in the least, right? Like, because that's probably reflective of how we all might experience the situation, since we are also of the West. The point, and it's like, I want you to say something about this, Kristen, because I feel like you put it really well earlier when we were talking about this. The point is, like, talking about FGM on this white dominated media platform is a losing game. Okay. There is no way the people at Bravo, Truly Original, Andy Cohen and his associates can do justice to this conversation. We already know, much like in the context of last season of RHOP, when it's time to talk about certain cultural practices we might find on the continent, how do we expect the combo to go when whoever says poor says Africa, whoever says savage says Africa, whoever says, right? We get what Africa signifies in the global imagination. So it's a setup. It's not going to go well.
It's like the interpretive cards are stacked against any kind of mode of understanding. But like, in addition to that, I think, like, there are scholars, in particular, Sylvia Winter is a useful reference here, who will talk about the kind of incommensurability of the the world that produces that practice of female circumcision, or female genital mutilation is kind of the term that the West has kind of devised and applied to it. And it's like the West's values around things like autonomy, consent, independence, individuality, self-determination, like those values can't perceive that practice as anything but violation, savagery, brutality, and can't even, like, I think, like, take on the like ways of knowing, being, feeling, existing that emanate from the world of, we might just call it like the worldview of, like, East Africa, if that's where the practice is cited, that would, like, honor that there is a tradition and that there is a set of practices that make sense around that practice. Like, so it's hard to talk about. Like, I guess the point is just that there is a kind of what do you call it? Like when you can't say something, there's like, we can't speak to it. Like, the West can't speak to what that practice is. And it's, I think one way of underscoring this point is, like, when Ayan is telling Stanberry about this violation that Sara exacts by, like, encouraging her to tell her story, and then, calling her a victim, telling the media that she was victimizing herself by virtue of the story, or, using the story to make herself a victim. Stanberry is like, well, I just was surprised Sara didn't see that was a major faux pas, and that she ought to have known that it was inappropriate to speak on that. And
she said, I would think that would be obviously inappropriate for anyone to say about that.
About that.
Right.
Yeah.
She,
It's
like it's marked by so many gaps, right? She like doesn't, so many gaps. And it's like, you know, someone might take that to be a sign of like Stanberry's enlightened positionality. No, she's just, here's the difference. It's like, I want to mark the point there, right? Like, here's the difference. Stanberry is a liberal humanist subject, right? We're talking about liberal humanism as a concept for the kind of people that come out of the Western world and the Western frame of reference. And she's like, well, as a Brit, I already know like the only reasonable posture to take with respect to those victims of FGM is pity. You're not demonstrating pity, and it's well, of course, because Sara has a different world reference, right? She has a tie to an older world, even though she's from Dubai. Dubai became the place we understand it as today, like a very short while
52 years ago.
Yesterday, right? So Sara has another old world reference. She's still inside of this, you know, modern world, so she has access to these other things. But where Sara is from, it's actually a little more acceptable to publicly do this kind of negrophobia than it is where Stanberry's from, right? Where Stanberry's from, it's like your negrophobia must be very sophisticated. It must be masked with philia, like, or diversions.
And for her to have called it a faux pas, it's like, this is not a social indelicacy. Like, she didn't use the wrong salad fork. You know what I'm saying? No, but her calling it a faux pas is to say like, oh, she misstepped the social conventions of the agreed upon manner of interacting on the surface.
Right. You know? Right. Not she was unkind to somebody who was suffering. No, none of that. She failed. Right. She failed to follow the script that otherwise governs the world, right? Like the hegemonic liberal humanist script.
Yeah.
Quite ugly. But so then they, whatever, at Stanberry's behest, they have to have the conversation in private. And more or less, Sara doubled down, right? She's just like, she doesn't double down because there's still a question of what she actually said. And I think we should raise that in the future, like by going to the archives. But she more or less is saying, well, you were victimizing yourself by looking for attention. And the way that leaves off is, of course, nothing is resolved. Like, it's sick of you, so-called enlightened one, to think of someone, to use the word victimize.
Yes.
I actually don't think that's a useful term. People should cut it out of their vocabulary, whether we're talking about RHOP or we're talking about Dubai. Victimize is not a useful concept, and you certainly shouldn't be applying it to this situation when you invited the woman to share her story.
Though I do often apply victimize to Enneagram 2s, I do want to like say again forcefully, like Sara spent the entire first season trying to get Ayan to open up about this.
That's crazy.
Right. And whatever she did, she was not supportive, kind, and thoughtful or humble in the face of this person who's experienced something she can't relate to. And I think that's really the point, right? Like Sara is fake enlightened, as a bunch of people easily identify. She's like a trauma vulture.
Yep.
Because she needs it to feed her desire for elitism.
That's it. So is that a sevens? Is that like the expression of a sevens mode of being? An 8?
I kind of think it could be either, to be honest. I mean, it doesn't sound 8ish to me, but I do think there's a possibility that Sara is an 8, so we should really keep that debate going.
Right, we can keep it going for the sake of, you know, argument, but like, even though
like
8s might
person, like, you know, like a 2ish person, like let me coax care in order to ensure a return on my investment, you know.
That's true. But the way that Sara plays in Enlightenment, to me, that's very 7ish. So
yeah, so there's something not to it. She's not looking for approval enough, which is why I question her 7ness, because 7s are, you know, generally like, I don't want people to not like me. And Sara seems to have no regard for whether people like her or not. Like, she would like very much to seem like the lofty one, totally removed from everybody else. She's very antisocial in her socializing. That's
I have a lot to say about that, but we're leaving it here, folks. Okay. Please Like, comment, subscribe. And if
tell
you have
us what you think. Oh, tell us what you think Sara was up to. Like whether she did in fact transgress against Ayan, whether in the confrontation she handled it the right way, what you think her intentions, her motives are. Yeah. If she as enlightened as she insists.
But let me also say, if you have not watched Real Housewives of Dubai, you better start. It's really breathed some air into the Bravo space. So
such a rich text. Sorry.
Rich.
All right. Well, bye y'all.
Bye.